There was a time when a long-distance truck driver in Europe didn't have a bedroom. He had a coat folded over a toolbox behind the seat, a thermos of cold coffee balanced on the dashboard, and the grinding vibration of an underpowered diesel engine rattling his spine from Rotterdam to Rome. And nobody in the industry thought to ask whether it had to be this way. Because that's just what trucking was. Brutal and thankless and loud. And then in September of 1973, at the IAA Commercial Vehicle Show in Frankfurt, a small Dutch company from the city of Eindhoven rolled something onto the exhibition floor that made every other truck manufacturer in Europe look like they were still living in the 1950s. And that machine was the DAF 2800, riding on the new F241 cab, 241 centimeters wide, a full 20 centimeters broader than anything DAF had built before, with a wide black plastic grille, 4 round headlights staring straight ahead like something that meant serious business, and 3 windscreen wipers across the top because the glass was now so wide that 2 simply couldn't reach the corners. And if you walked up to it on that showroom floor and opened the cab door, what you found inside would have stopped you cold. Not a cramped box with a bench seat and a rattling window, but 2 full-size beds, proper beds, the kind a man could actually sleep in, stacked in a sleeper compartment that DAF's own company would later describe as being of a quality like at home. And this was not marketing language, this was the stated engineering objective. Because DAF had spent years watching drivers climb out of their cabs bent double after 10-hour runs across the Alps, and decided that the solution was not a thicker cushion on the seat, but a complete reimagining of what a truck cab could be. But the cab was only half the story, because underneath that wide F241 tilt front, and here is where the DAF 2800 became something that rewrote the rules of European trucking permanently, sat the world's first production intercooled turbodiesel engine, an 11 6-liter inline-6 designated the DKS 1166, derived from the old Leyland O 680 bottom end, but transformed almost beyond recognition. And what intercooling meant in plain language was this. A turbocharger forces compressed hot air into a diesel engine to make it produce more power. But hot air is thin air, and thin air means incomplete combustion and wasted fuel. And what DAF's engineers did was place a charge air cooler, an intercooler, between the turbocharger and the intake manifold to cool that compressed air back down, making it dense and oxygen-rich, so the engine could burn fuel more completely. And the result was 320 horsepower and 260 newton-meters of torque, from an era when 280 horsepower was considered exceptional. And on top of that, the fuel consumption actually went down because the engine was burning what it took in instead of wasting it out of the exhaust pipe, and DAF's own museum, celebrating 75 years of truck production, states it plainly. They were the first truck manufacturer in the world to launch the turbo intercooler. More torque, more power, lower fuel consumption, all 3 at once, in an industry where you were normally lucky to get one of the 3. Now you have to understand what the world looked like in September of 1973 to grasp just how audacious this was, because the timing could not have been more extraordinary. Within weeks of that Frankfurt debut, the OPEC oil embargo began. Fuel prices across Europe climbed like they had never climbed before. Haulage companies were watching their operating costs blow through the roof. And here was DAF, with an engine that burned less fuel while producing more power than the competition, which meant that buying a DAF 2800 didn't just feel like the sensible choice, it felt like the only logical choice, and orders doubled in Britain alone by 1974, with hauliers queuing up to get their hands on a truck that could outrun the crisis rather than be strangled by it. The cab itself deserves another moment, because the engineering of the F241 was as significant as the engine sitting below it. DAF had already introduced one of Europe's first tilt cabs on its earlier F218 series in 1970, meaning the entire front of the cab could be hydraulically tilted forward to expose the engine for servicing, which had transformed maintenance from a half-day ordeal of crawling under the chassis to something a mechanic could accomplish in a fraction of the time. And the F241 carried this forward and widened it, and because the engine lived below and in front of the driver, rather than between him and his co-driver, the noise level inside the cab dropped dramatically compared to the old conventional layout, where the engine was encased between the seats and vibrated every component around it. And the result was a working environment where a driver could actually have a conversation at normal volume, could hear the radio, could arrive at his destination with something left in the tank mentally because the machine hadn't been grinding him down hour after hour the way his competitors' trucks were still doing. The transmission options were equally serious: ZF12 or 16-speed gearboxes, or the legendary Fuller RTO 9513 13-speed Road Ranger, a gearbox that British long-haul drivers of the era spoke about with genuine reverence, a unit so robust and so beautifully engineered that drivers who had served their time on it in the late 70s still talk about it today as one of the finest pieces of drivetrain engineering they ever put their hand to. And the combination of that Fuller gearbox with the torque of the intercooled DKS engine made the 2800 what drivers on the tough mountain runs through Austria and Yugoslavia called a flyer. A truck that didn't struggle on the grades that killed the competition, that didn't require a driver to spend half his concentration managing the gearbox just to keep momentum going uphill. Then, in 1975, came something even more remarkable: a variant called the Super Continental, built specifically for the British market and aimed directly at the drivers running the legendary Middle East route, the long haul from Western Europe all the way through Turkey into Iraq and Iran and Saudi Arabia, runs of thousands of miles that could keep a driver away from home for weeks at a time. And the Super Continental was converted from the standard 2800 by a caravan builder in England's West Country. Not a truck factory, a caravan builder, which tells you everything about the priority DAF placed on the living conditions inside that cab. And what emerged was a truck with stone guards on the exterior, special desert spec air filtration, a double-skin tropical roof to manage the heat of the Middle Eastern summer, and inside, a full kitchen pack, because a man doing a run from London to Riyadh was not going to survive on roadside food from a dozen different countries. He was going to need to cook for himself, and the Super Continental gave him the means to do exactly that, turning the cab into something closer to a mobile apartment than a working vehicle. And the drivers who ran those Middle East routes in 1979 and 1980 in these machines, men who can still tell you the exact gear the Fuller box would be in coming down into the Bosphorus crossing, speak about the Super Continental in the tone that men reserve for things they genuinely loved. The DAF 2800 also proved itself in environments that no showroom presentation could have anticipated, because in 1982, a DAF 2800 NTT 684, driven by the Dutch driver Jan de Rooij,